Hey everybody, this is Perch. Buckle up. This is a longer email, but let's do it. It says, "Why should I buy floppies?" It says, "Hello Perch. I've enjoyed your videos, particularly the ones describing the industry, such as pricing and distribution. For my question, I want to get a bit of background. I don't think I'm a unique case, but I believe it's relevant. I did not grow up with comics. I knew superheroes from movies and cartoons. No one I knew owned comics like friends or family. I thought comics were a mythical item as I only saw them in movies or TV. The two rare items where I did see a comic was when my elementary school teacher had the Civil War issue where Peter reveals his identity, but only that issue. And when the Scholastic Book Fair had a Tonkabon-sized trade of Spider-Girl, which I speed read and remember enjoying, but I didn't buy because I was self-conscious that it had a girl on the cover. By the way, people always like hand wave that aside, but it's a real thing. And you can talk about all the gender diversity and inclusion and all that kind of stuff you want. But I've raised two girls. One is definitely more comfortable than the other in terms of buying things with quote unquote boys on the cover. My younger daughter would not touch, and I think is true today, Spider-Man, because it had a boy on the cover. She will go for Spider-Gwen. She would rather, of course, though, read Spider-Man. She doesn't like Spider-Gwen. She really enjoyed the Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse movie. Both my daughters did. My older daughter owned it. Just would talk about it at school, no problem. Younger daughter wouldn't dare mention it. They had what is your favorite movie? And she picked one of the Descendants, even though she didn't like it very much because of the pressure in the school. Now, keep in mind, this is the year like 2024, where, in theory, we've been telling kids for years now that boy and girl stuff, people can like what they like and everything else. It's not working. It's just confusing the shit out of kids. In my younger daughter's school, they have a game where, they've been introducing the pronouns and are you trans or not? And the kids will regularly joke about becoming trans or being trans or I'm trans today or I am a helicopter today. I mean, it's like none of this stuff is landing. You're talking to an audience that doesn't get it. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyway, that's not the mail, but it's there. It says living in a semi-rural area, there were LCSs in nearby city I was unaware of, but my family rarely ventured into the city in general. Around middle school, I discovered manga, and that took my whole attention. In my early 20s, I did read the big blockbuster hits like Kingdom Come, Watchmen, a decent amount of the big Batman books. But the idea of buying floppies didn't cross my mind, as I assumed it was impenetrable. The rise of the MCU somewhat bothered me, as I always had a sense that I was viewing some distilled version of the characters. So I kept comics in a peripheral view, not reading them, but trying to figure out how to follow them, like volume and legacy numbers to figure out an entry point, as well as the history of the big two. This got a lot easier once I found people with more knowledge. Shoutouts to Exalted Speed on Twitter and his threads, for sure. That guy's class all the way. Now in my late 20s, Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man got announced. I decided to buy floppies. I found an LCS, made a variety of books to fall, most of which I've enjoyed. But I am here 9 months later with a box full of comics, and I'm somewhat frustrated. The novelty of owning floppy comics has worn off. I am annoyed by how I have to bag and board each issue due to its fragility and put them in a specialty box. That is, even the closest store I have found has to drive 15 to 20 minutes out of my route when I'm out. I see trades coming out of the floppies I have, and I question why I'm buying these individually. It typically offers a better price per issue. I can put it on the bookshelf with my other books. I can order online and not have to drive to the LCS. Even the back issues I bought in the dollar bin, I realized could be read in trade. Yeah, mostly. I did mention that I'm enjoying the stories, but I don't think I'd have a problem waiting for a trade. The monthly format just still seems too spread out to keep my attention. I bought my second box and realized eventually I'm going to have to buy a third, a fourth, fifth. Yes, you will. Welcome to the addiction, sucker. No, I'm kidding. That's a retailer to me. Sorry. Meanwhile, filling my bookshelf doesn't have this feeling of dread. Why should I buy floppies when I can wait for the trade? And it says, on a completely unrelated note, do you know why national periodicals changed their name to DC Comics, not AC Comics? I'm aware they did brand themselves Superman DC for a time, but what I understand, Batman's towering popularity wasn't until the 80s. There was a trademark issue. It's probably worth a video, but it's not an exciting story. I'll tease with that, and then I'll do a video on that topic another time. But legal-ish nonsense is the answer. All right. So First off, I want to just talk about kind of what you're experiencing and say that, for floppies aren't for everyone. And it sounds kind of stupid saying it that way, but they just aren't, and they shouldn't be. I think, one of the good things about, floppies versus trade paperbacks versus other collected editions is that you actually can, or digital. No part in that conversation do we get into digital, but there's that too. And for whatever reason, if you go to other countries, although not so much Europe, it doesn't function the same way, but you go to Japan, comics are provided in the little tankobon format. They're in the Jump, in the in the kind of a anthology type version. There's digital versions. You have all these different ways that the comics could be consumed, but none of the angst. For whatever reason, only in the U.S. people get really angsty about which version you're buying, and then are you a true comic collector or not? There's all that kind of drama. But the answer is, look, you buy whatever fits your lifestyle. And if I will tell you, if you're not loving the idea of getting a short box or long box and putting your comics in there, baggy boarding, it's not going to get better. There's not a point where you're like, you know what? It's finally feels good. It's never going to feel good. It either feels good at the beginning or passable, but it's not gonna go from bad to good there. And I would suggest, why do people buy floppies? Well, a couple simple reasons. One, they don't want to wait the 6 months or more for the trade. There's that audience. I think that's shrinking a little bit, but definitely there's that audience. Two, collectors. Floppies are more of a collector's item. Trades are less. Floppies have more value. Trades have less. That's just kind of how it goes. If you do not care about the collector item aspect of it, and you are a reader, you're just somebody who wants the stories, wants kind of that entertainment, then, trades are fine. There's no reason to go there. Floppies are more expensive for sure. You're getting the comic a little bit faster, but the way the stories are decompressed and pulled out, it does mean that it can be an aggravating experience just as much as waiting, the several extra months to get the trade. For that matter, that's the argument for digital. In digital, you can have it even faster than floppies in a lot of cases. You don't even have to leave the toilet to read that latest issue. So I think that's kind of what you're dealing with there. It's the big message here is what fits you. What is it that you want? What is it that you like? What is it that fits your lifestyle? And go with it. But that's why people buy floppies, mostly for collector reasons, somewhat of a habit. And then sometimes they just don't want to wait. That's fine too. But look, if you're reading comics, you're reading comics. That's the cool part. It doesn't really matter. And I think the story you told probably fits a lot of people, particularly newer readers. And I think there's a lesson in there, certainly for Marvel, DC, people who are trying to pull in young, this mythical new audience. The mythical new audience is likely to be like you. The idea of, comics got a lot of their popularity in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s because, people, kids like me could get on their bike at the age of 10 and go, miles away to a gas station or grocery store, shop comics, and then, and then buy them. And today, parents won't let their kids just wander out into the city on their bike for miles in most cases. And you can't go to the grocery store anyway. You got to go to a comic shop. So chances are you're not, on your bike 2 miles. You're on your bike like 50 miles or, hopefully not that many, but it's not easy to get there. So, therefore, if you want to meet them where they are, you got to go to some place where, quite frankly, they're going to be more interested in trades that they could get at a Walmart or a grocery store or something like that and less interested in floppies. It's just kind of how the market's evolved and where people are at. Find your customers where they are. That's the key. That's always going to be the key. But that's the best answer I could give you. One, your experience is common. Two, just get out of the floppy game. If you're not enjoying it now, just stop. It's like I said, it's only going to get worse. And three, if you're a publisher, listen to this. Understand this market. And I guess four, like take a note from Japan. They have all these different formats running around. At no point do they say this one's better than the other one. They push all businesses somewhat equally because they understand that their customers are coming from different places and they try and meet them there. They don't create drama around it. They don't create this is the right format and that's the wrong format. They're like, we want to take people's money. That's it. So there you go. thank you very much for the mail. I will circle back and do a video talking about DC and how we got there. But thank you for writing in. What about you? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course. And thanks for listening.